Kevin Gordon here from Autosavant.com with our video review of the 2012 Audi A6 3.0T. This particular A6, and forgive the beeping of the backup camera here, is the Prestige model with basically every option that you can get. That includes the advanced technology pack, the Bang & Olufsen stereo, and a few individual options, which I'll actually scroll through instead of me reading you the whole thing. The grand total comes to $71,000 and change. Let's face it, if you're buying a $71,000 car, those last $300 probably don't mean a ton to you. The A6 is a impressive car. I mean, there's sort of no denying that. It's cousin slash sister slash brother, whatever you'd like to call it, the A7, the coupe version of this car, have won multiple car of the years. And when you start to spend some time in one, you can understand why. On the outside, the thing's beautiful. This particular one's painted Havana black, which is really a very, very deep brown color. That, here's a little inside hint for you, they love painting press cars brown. But anyway, a little bit of an aside there. The color's gorgeous. I mean, it's one of those things that's kind of hard to capture on film, but you don't notice it until you get up close and decent lighting to see it. This car, as part of the advanced technology package, also has LED headlights, which might seem a bit gimmicky, and right now they're enormously expensive. I think it's a standalone option. They're $1,700. They're included in that package, but they really do work well. I will tell you, when you're on the highway in the United States, the concept of flashing your brights or your high beams to get somebody to move over out of the fast lane, it's pretty much a hit or miss affair. Most people just get annoyed and sit there to sort of spite you. Well, these things, when you flash them, are so bright that people actually move over. And that, I think, leads me to the most impressive part about the A6 so far, and that is the day we picked it up, we drove it straight from Philadelphia to Boston and back in a day. And as a long-range cruiser, you couldn't really ask for much more, except for the seats that are in the Lexus GS 350 that we had last week, because those things were magic. But beyond that, this thing does all you want. And the just incredible part is it averaged 28.9 miles per gallon for 471 miles. So a single tank, we got 471 miles at 60 plus mile an hour speeds. And if you follow all of Autosavant's social media things, you'll actually be able to see a picture of the average speed in one of the photos. And that one's actually slightly less than where we were actually before we stopped for gas and sort of putted around the parking lot for a while. We'll go through all the technology pieces in our next segment, but I did want to point out that this car does also have night vision, which I'll show you some pictures of. It works well. It's not the best system that's out there today, but if you're driving in compromised visibility conditions, heavy rain, fog, it sees through that kind of stuff like nothing else. And even driving on a dark 2-lane country road like this, it will pop out things like deer standing in the brush better than anything. So, is it necessary? Probably not, but it does work well, and I'd be happy to have it as one of those things that's available in the car. So from a grunt perspective, this is the 3-liter supercharged V6 that Audi is starting to spread across their line, and in this edition, it's 310 horsepower and 320 some foot-pounds of torque. It'll probably be scrolling across the bottom right now because I can't remember. Shame on me. What's interesting about it is Audi's got this same engine bumped up in horsepower that you can buy in some of their other models. And, initially when you drive it calmly, you'll never really notice the difference. But where you do notice the difference is up at the top of the rev range. The supercharged engine's got great pull from like 2 to 4, but once it gets at 4.5, 5, 6,000 RPM, it does feel a little wheezy. It's just like it's run out of breath. And I'm sort of surprised that the supercharger works that way, because they're typically a little bit more linear than, say, a small turbocharger, which spools up, can only spin so fast, and puts in air. So I don't know what Audi's doing there and what the real difference is between the smaller engine that's in this one, and by smaller I mean in horsepower number, and the larger one that was, say, for example, in the Q7 that we reviewed for the site a few months ago. The other little disappointment with this engine is it just doesn't sound like much. It's there, you can hear it, but there's nothing, performance oriented. In today's world, these harmonic induction tubes, or whatever they want to call them, they're a piece of the intake that comes off through the firewall so you get to hear the engine. They might be gimmicky and unnecessary things, but I have to give them credit. Say, for example, and again to compare it to the Lexus we were in last week, just because it's so fresh in the memory, that thing really does sound sportier than this, even though this is clearly a faster car. The ride and handling of this car, Audi and the Germans, as usual, have done a very good job of making it so that the car doesn't have much body roll, but yet doesn't beat you up on bumpy back roads like we're on now. The brakes work as well as you could really hope anything ever would, and it does a nice job of being a sporty companion when you need it to be. And like I said, really is a touring car that every once in a while you can go toss around. You're not going to be disappointed. The inside of the Audi makes you realize one thing, which is how far along the other manufacturers have come in building really, really attractive and functional and well-done interiors. Audi at one point really was absolutely the king of the hill in fit and finish and interior quality, and it's still very, very good. It's just everybody else is evolving so quickly that in some ways the inside of the Audi, it's handsome, don't get me wrong, but it's a little bit more plain than some of the other cars, and for some people that might be a great thing. I can just tell you that it doesn't quite feel as special in here as it does when you start to deal with some of its competitors. One thing that does deserve a bit of appreciation is the transmission that's in this. It's an 8-speed, which is a lot of ratios, but it never, even in normal drive, you never catch it hunting for gears or being in the wrong ones. This one with the Sport package, which is the final option I didn't mention at the beginning, which gets you 19-inch wheels, also gets you shifters on the paddles, paddle shifters on the steering wheel. Just, one of those things to know in case you care. The seating positioning here is very, very good. You've got enough power adjustment in the seat and the steering wheel to get into a good driving position. Visibility out is about all you could ask for in any kind of sedan. The back seats are nice and big. Where I sit, which is probably closer to the steering wheel than some 6-footers, still, my seat's back far enough, and there's plenty of room to sit behind me in that seat. And, the back seats are contoured, so your knees have a nice place, and you can get your feet underneath the front seats to have even more room. So to sum up the 2012 Audi A6 with the 3.0T, T standing for supercharger somehow, with all-wheel drive, or Quattro as Audi calls it, it is an amazingly capable, comfortable, nice place to spend time. It makes miles melt away. If you've got to go take a 600-mile round trip in a day, there isn't a lot more you could ask for in a car. At $71,000, it is enormously expensive, even for a mid-sized luxury sedan. I mean, at those dollars, I hate to say it, you almost expect to be getting something with more horsepower these days. But the technology that you get in this car, like we went through, the Google Maps and the hotspot and the Google local search, the LED headlights, which really you'd think are a gimmick but work really well. They don't have that harsh cutoff that Xenons do, and the high beams are amazingly bright. You get heads up, you get night vision. I mean, so you get a lot of content, and how do you justify $71,000? That's your personal choice. I can tell you that when you get to this level of car, it would really be hard to walk off of the lot when you're going to look at this thing and you go drive it and live with it for a while. So as usual, I'm Kevin Gordon from AutoSavant.com, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon.